Um, on the holidays, I started with the self-evaluation of the, well, I was checking the self-evaluation of the instruments, and well, I get some of the results of each student of the peer literature circle and the second one. Well,
Okay, did you? I uploaded a couple of days ago as an announcement.
the
I
deadline.
did the deadline, but also a day before, I think I uploaded something about the codes and what to include. That we need to include in the appendix a list of the codes
Hmm.
and the categories.
Hmm.
I don't know if you had a chance to look at that.
Oh, I looked it very fast, but I didn't make any changes on
Okay.
the appendix.
Okay, but do you have any do you understand what to upload in the appendix for your codes?
Like this, like the codes and
Yeah.
the, well, the the parts or the quotes the students mention
Yeah.
and categories.
Yeah, the example, I included a link
Uh-huh.
on page 9 of the document, of the link to it. They have this example here that I'm showing, that I'm going to write out here. Okay, so they have this example broken down into categories, subcategories, and codes.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to have a similar outline, and then below here you might have another category, subcategories, and codes. Another category, subcategory, and codes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you need to have some sort of outline here as a document or as an appendix that you add at the end of your thesis. And mention this in the method section, specifically in the procedural section. So after you talk about how you collected the data, one or two sentences that says, I analyzed the data that I collected using the codes from, and see from, you know, codes related to my research question, see Appendix F, whatever. Now, they have an example. They're using terms like categories, subcategories, and codes. Before break, we were using words like codes, categories, and themes. It's the same thing. If you want to use themes, categories, and codes, fine. Or if you want to use categories, subcategories, and codes, that's fine. You want to use codes, that is going to be consistent. And that'll be basically the most specific label that you're using to represent groups or chunks of language or text. Okay, so this is what you need to upload in your thesis. Okay, so this is, I just want to don't get confused by the terms categories, subcategories, codes. Same thing as calling it themes, categories, and codes. All right.
Yes.
Now, let's. You've done your analysis. Have you finished your analysis?
I still analyzing because it's a lot.
Okay. Let's look based on what you have so far about how to prepare for the results and discussion section. Remember, it is one section, and so we need to make sure in this one section that consists of 2,500 words that we have a good balance between results and discussion.
Yes.
And that we always talk about the results first, then the discussion. It sounds obvious, but sometimes the tendency is to start right away with the discussion without presenting any results. And you're like, well, wait, where did you get that from? Or how do you know that? So just a couple things to keep in mind. You always present the results first, and then discuss only what you presented.
Yeah.
And make sure you have a good balance. Now, let's take a look. Based on what you have so far, just as an example for today's discussion, let's think in terms of 2 to 3 sections that we might divide up the results and discussion section. So what, and this is just an example, later if you decide to change it, that's fine.
Okay.
Let's come up, based on what you know so far, let's come up with 2 or 3 sections. So how about you divide it up?
I would divide it in literature circle definition, for example, like I get some quotes. Teacher mentioned what a literature circle is, and on the other side, the students like own definition.
Okay,
Oh,
do you have your research questions handy? Let's open up your document.
oh yeah, maybe
Let's start with
I don't know. Mm, at the end of the oh yeah.
all right. So,
Sorry.
how do students assign roles to
Mhm.
classmates? How do students feel when they mediate? All right. How do they feel? How do teachers interact?
Yeah, it would be better about it.
One way
Uh-huh.
is to divide it up based on your questions.
Obviously.
I mean, you
Sorry.
don't have to do that, right? But you can do that if you want.
Yeah, it's much more logical.
All right. So let's just for the sake of argument, let's try it. So let's say student.
Opinion and
Let's do this. I'm just going to put
Mhm.
student roles.
Student roles.
Later, you can decide how you want to
Yes.
word it. Student roles.
Student
Now,
role.
maybe the second would be
Teacher role.
students. How do they feel about? All right. I'm going to follow the same order that you
Yeah.
have here.
Okay.
But let's say
Mhm.
that you decide to change the order in the results. I would just go back and change the order of the
What research
questions.
questions?
All
Uh-huh.
right. If you want to keep it the same, that's fine. But
Okay.
keep it consistent. If you're going to follow this pattern
Mhm.
of question 1, question 2, question 3, which is fine, just make sure you follow the same order that and present it your questions in the same order. So I'm just going to call this student. Uh, Student
Perception, opinion.
yeah, I guess perception, I guess. Or attitudes, maybe. Student attitudes towards literature circles. And then the third section, teachers interact and mediate. So teacher mediation. Now let's look at this because this may change. Or we may want to change this, but let's look at this. Each section.
Mhm.
All right, let's look. Tell me the different data sources that you used in your study. Thinking in terms of student roles, this first section. We have how do students assign roles to classmates when participating in literature circles? What data sources do you think contribute to answering that question?
The transcription of the focus group of the recording, obviously.
Okay, what else?
The observations we took.
What else?
The self-evaluation instrument. Evaluation instruments.
I guess it's the questionnaire, no?
No,
Or what is it?
the roles were.
Oh, it was like an activity they did or something?
Well, is this they self-evaluate their development from one as the less uh,
So it's like
one
a
negative
handout.
and
It's a handout.
yeah, it's a handout.
Okay. Anything else?
Mm, no.
Okay.
Oh, well, maybe the recordings of the literature circles. I have
Those would be kind of your observations, right?
I have the observations like this observation, and also I have the recordings, the audio recording.
I'm gonna include that because the recordings are of your observations, no?
Yeah.
All right. So even
observations.
All right. So when I say observations, what I mean is
It implies
both. What you have here, because you need to combine those two for your observations. And maybe I should put here field notes. Okay. Field notes is all of it, everything that you have. All right. Now, Same with attitudes. Your second question, how do students feel when they mediate literature circles presented in class?
And the
Are these
recordings.
the same
Pretty
data
much
sources?
the first one and the third one.
Right. All right, so focus groups, self
Evaluation. Well, and the observations as well.
observations, maybe, right? Because attitudes is kind of hard to observe.
Mhm.
Were you able to observe how they feel?
Well, not how they feel, but
Well,
if they were like participating or
all right. So
they were
maybe we'll
not.
put that in there.
Okay.
All right. Teacher mediation. So how do teachers interact and mediate during the process of literature circle?
First of all, with the questionnaires. The initial questionnaire I apply. Then the semi-structured interview I made with the teacher. And finally, the observation.
Yeah. When you begin writing your results and discussion section, you need to look at each of these sections and ask yourself, what are the main concepts that I want to talk about? Okay. What are the main topics? Every concept, or when I say concept, okay, I mean maybe a claim, an idea, okay. Every concept that you want to talk about, you need to try to include all three data sources. This is called triangulation. So we want to triangulate each of the concepts that you plan to discuss within each of the categories. Okay.
Yes.
And this applies to each section. Same idea.
Attitudes.
What is it?
Teachers. Mediation.
And I'm just putting three. That's however two, whatever, however many concepts you need is what you need to include there. It's the same idea. You want to triangulate each one.
It's like a confirmation of.
Right. So my point here is sometimes
the claims.
Students like to say, okay, observations, luego, interviews, luego, questionnaires, I see todo, I see.
The interpretation.
And yes, you're going to include all three, but what I suggest is instead of each data source, right, organize it by concept or claim or idea based on this.
And I have to mention.
And then insert the three, then insert the three, then another piece of information, insert the three data sources throughout. Okay? So it's clear. These ideas, obviously, everything is relating to answering your research questions, right? So make sure that you at least include two out of your three data sources. Two's okay, three's better. One, don't do it. Even if it's great information, it answers your research questions, it's really interesting, it's a great quote, for example, a teacher says this great thing, but if you didn't observe it, you didn't ask anything on your questionnaire, you didn't ask about it in the focus group, or the students didn't say anything, they didn't offer any opinions about it, you're better off not to say anything. Okay, because you don't want during your presentation saying, oh, the teacher told me this, and then they may ask, well, okay, well, that's good, but did you observe anything? Well, no, I didn't observe. Well, how did the students feel? Well, I didn't ask the students. Well, did they say anything in the question? No. So you're basing your results on one perspective. And what we want to try to do is ideally include three perspectives.
Because you are showing the different perspectives.
Exactly. Right. So at least two, three's better. And this is what I would try to do here is each concept here to include those three. All right. Now you have basically two options here that you can follow when you're developing your results in the discussion section. Option one. Remember when we talked about the meal plan, right? Okay, so we're going to, again, talk about the meal plan, but in a slightly different way. We're still going to follow the meal plan. What I mean by that is we still want to have good developed paragraphs. You can include charts, graphs, you can include any kind of images you want, but remember that it's text-based. That is, you're still writing words, building paragraphs around ideas that align with your headings that answer your research questions. Always keep that in mind. All right, so the first option here is your first paragraph, as you know, is going to have a topic sentence. So the topic sentence, in other words, is the main idea of the meal plan. Then you can continue on in that same paragraph. And in that same paragraph, you include evidence. Now, when I say evidence, I use evidence because it's part of the meal plan, but evidence is the same as what?
Obviously, the results.
The results. Now, notice, when you were developing paragraphs in the literature review, the evidence came from the authors, right, with citations. Now it's going to be different. You were providing the evidence. You were the evidence. Your research, your findings, all of this, that is the evidence, not the experts. That's one thing very important. Okay? So you're not going to have any citations that are evidence sentences in the results. In the lit review, yes, but not in the results. All right, so the first paragraph, topic sentence, evidence, 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 link. I'm just putting 1, 2, 3, 4, but
quotations from the information collected.
Okay. So where does this evidence come from? Data source 1, 2, 3. Now, your question about direct quotes. Try to include direct quotes whenever you can. In fact, try to include. I would avoid, in most cases, paraphrasing, because direct quotes really adds a lot. It shows how you later are going to interpret that. If you paraphrase what I say, I really don't know how you interpreted what I said. But if you write, that's a bad example. If you paraphrase what one of your students say, I don't know, the reader doesn't know how you interpreted that. But if you write out what the student said, and then you offer your interpretation, then the reader knows, okay, I see how he interpreted. Whether they agree or not, they see how you interpreted. See, so that's kind of important distinction where you want to present the results. In this case, direct quotes. Now, you don't have to include all the direct quotes. You're going to find really good direct quotes.
Specific.
Let's say a student really give you a really awesome direct quote, and all the students basically said the same thing. I'll say that. One student replied like this, blah, 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 word for word, and most of the students agreed. Or half of the students agreed. Another student replied like this, the other half agreed with that person. Right? But the quotes really add a lot to your paper, too. It's interesting to hear the voices of your participants, really, when you do your analysis. So these evidence here, they come from these data sources. So when you come in and you talk about these, when you talk about, okay, first the teacher said this, when you present the second piece of evidence, your data source, you can say, but I observed this, which was different than what the teacher said. So notice how I'm reminding the reader, okay, watch out, this is different. This data source is different than the other. You might also say this is the same as what they said.
Okay.
So my point here is when you're presenting your evidence, throw in like explicit comparisons. You don't have to discuss it at length. You're just saying it's different or the same. To kind of say, okay, so the reader clicks to say, okay, there's some things that are different. And when you later analyze, which I'll talk in a minute, it makes more sense because the reader remembers, okay, there were some things that were different there, or all the data sources basically said the same thing. You see what I mean? So this is your first paragraph. Notice that the last sentence of every paragraph still will have the linking sentence. So the main idea, the topic sentence and the linking sentence stay the same idea. The only difference is, notice in this example, what's missing? We don't have the analyze.
So that's on the discussion, right?
Well, here we go. So we have our second paragraph. Again, we start with the topic sentence. This is the hardest part of the paragraph. And these topic sentences that I'm talking about here that are difficult to create are coming directly from these concepts. This concept might be one paragraph, it might be 3 or 4 paragraphs. I don't know. Okay, but these topic sentences have to relate to this topic.
One to the other.
These topic sentences have to really relate. So your second paragraph, you have your topic sentence. Now guess what? We start with analyze. What are we analyzing? The evidence that you just mentioned. Very specifically, explicit.
Okay.
Don't make it sound, don't talk about anything else. Talk just about this. Analyze it. When I say analyze, what is it? How do you interpret this? Is this you're critiquing? You're saying, okay, this. You might even make small some suggestions about, okay, they did it like this, and it would be better if they did it like this. And in the analyze sentences, what are we going to also include? Citations. So this is where you can also, in your own discussion, your own interpretation, insert quotes to say, okay, this is different than what Ella said, or this is very similar to what Ella said. And incorporate those experts in your own discussion to make it sound, to give it more weight. Now, notice the difference between this meal plan and the meal plan and the lit review. First of all, in this paragraph, there's no analyze. In this paragraph, there's no evidence. And guess what? The citations, now, they're not going to be evidence sentences. They're going to be analyze. Those are different than the paragraphs that we
like contrasting, but, contrasting the evidence from the data collection with the information presented on the beat of the authors.
Exactly. Yes. And you can use the same quotes if you have a quote that relates specifically to your results. You can use the same quote. Obviously, you want to use the same citations or same references. Same references. You don't use any new references that you didn't include in the review. But you can use other citations. It doesn't have to be the same. If it is, that's okay too, as long as you don't overdo it. If you quoted something word for word, and that quote really links to this, you can repeat it again. It's okay. Just don't overdo that necessarily. That probably won't happen a lot, but you can use another citation. Another part of the book, the author said this, and this really links to this.
I have like a lot of annotated bibliographies.
Okay.
I use like, I don't know, certain annotated bibliographies, and others I keep them like only recorded for future, like.
Okay.
So I use those ones
as long as the references are the same.
They belong to the same book or article.
Yeah. As long as it's in your references that you have, that's fine.
Okay.
And as long, and that you talked about it, at least mentioned it once somewhere in your literature.
At least the author, right?
The author. All right, so this is option 1. Evidence first, and then the analyze, using quotations. This is option 2. We still begin with the topic sentence, and we begin with an analyze. Evidence, analyze, evidence, analyze. Okay. The second option, option 2, we begin with the topic sentence. We begin with evidence because we know we have to start with results first. When I say evidence, it's results. Right? Discussion is the analyze. So we start with evidence, then we analyze. Evidence, analyze, evidence, analyze. So we are presenting the results and discussion within one paragraph. An example I'm using here is just an example. You might have 2 evidence and 1 analyze or whatever. But the idea is that you're mixing within the same paragraph both results and discussion. Now, which one of these do Do you choose? Well, it depends.
Mhm.
The hardest part of this part of the thesis is you have all this information. You've spent weeks and weeks researching, hours with interviews,
Collecting,
analyzing. You know this information. You have all of this data in your head. Now the task
Mhm.
is for you, for someone to understand, for you to express it to someone else so that they understand.
Mhm.
So you have to ask yourself, when I talk about this one topic, this,
Mhm.
what would be the most logical, easiest way for someone to understand, for me to be understood? Doing it this way
Mhm.
or this way?
Mhm.
Which way would be the easiest for them to understand? Because that's your goal now. Your goal is to be understood. Answer your questions in a way that someone understands. Someone being a teacher who didn't study the BA, just a quote unquote normal English teacher off the streets,
Mhm.
right? Or anyone that is interested in this type of information that don't have a lot, maybe technical or experience, whatever. So you want to make it clear. You want to make it straightforward, and you have to make a judgment call for each of these concepts. Which would be the best way to present my data? Do I present all of my results in one paragraph then analyze, or do I incorporate it with one paragraph? You can mix these two options. Your first paragraph might be all evidence, second paragraph analyze, third paragraph might be both. Your fourth paragraph might be this one again, then the next paragraph might be like this.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, you need to have a good balance between results and discussion.
Mhm.
And always make sure that the results appear first.
Mhm.
So the first step is to get your head around this. Do an outline, do a graphic organizer, whatever works for you, but this needs to be clear in your mind. For this to be clear, your analysis has to be finished, obviously, and completed. So, and when you do this well, your analysis well, this should fall into place. You should say, okay, I'm going to talk about this first, and this first. Within each of these sections, I'm going to talk about this. When you do this analysis and you have your coding, sometimes you might even fall into these categories. You might have three categories, and these categories translate to these sections. In these subcategories, you might have subcategories, perhaps.
Mhm.
Okay?
Okay.
But really try to get your head around this, and if you can get this clear, then start writing up your results, thinking in terms of options 1, option 2, and being very specific into your topic sentences that they link and they relate. Making sure too that there's a reason why am I going to talk about this first and this later, and that there's a logical order throughout your paper.
Mhm.
All right.
So, okay, I got it now.
Does
It's
that
much clear.
Yeah, is that clear?
Uh-huh.
So the first step is to finish your analysis. Make sure you get that completed. Then complete this, and then start the writing. Keep this in mind here. I think that's.
Yeah, the thing now it's well for me I've analyzed the different data data instruments separate. Now I have to look for the integration and what information is like much more related to my research questions, but now I have to combine everything.
Yeah, your codes are across all data sources. So your codes really need to bring in your data sources and say, okay, teacher perspective on literature circles, these are my data sources, right? So you're using the same process, the coding, everything, for all data sources, whether they're transcriptions or they're documents or some
The
handouts,
observation.
same process. But then when you finish at the end, you should be able to kind of then hopefully see patterns there that you can see how you can
That
adapt your
appear
data.
in the different voltages. Okay.
All right. Any other questions or doubts?
Well, there's a lot of work to do, but
We've got until next Friday to finish the results discussion. Okay, so try to complete whatever you can for our next tutoring session. so I can give you feedback on whatever you have.
It's on next Friday, right? The deadline.
Oh yeah, the deadline is next Friday.
So I hope on the next tutoring session I will bring like in the document my results and discussions already like typed
Okay.
to make like
And if
appropriate
you
correction.
can make it in here, it's easier. We can look at it and
Yeah,
give
yeah.
you feedback, and you can change it there.
Uh-huh.
At the end, I'll probably upload a video, but you'll want to download your document to the Word document and start preparing to print it out. So important dates. Next Friday, the 16th, finish the results and discussions. It's 25. I changed the due date from May 23rd to May 22nd before 2 o'clock. So before 2 o'clock,
The draft should be
the first draft. Now it needs to be printed out, preferably bound.
uh-huh.
It doesn't have to look like perfect, but just have it bound some way so it's or one of
I
the
have a question.
plastic.
Bound is like in Spanish.
Engargolado.
Okay.
It can be like one of the plastic rings, or sometimes they have those plastic like, those sheets, and they have those clamps that you.
You only can take it out.
Right.
Take it out.
So that's fine too, as long as it's all together, it's not loose. All right, because we're going to be passing it around the tutors, but just one copy. Before 2 o'clock, May 22nd.
So next Friday, result and discussion, May 22nd, first draft printed and how do you say?
Engargolado, like bound.
Bound.
B-O-U-N-D.
What day is May 22nd?
Thursday.
Thursday? May 22nd. Thursday.
Because there are no classes on Friday the 23rd, so then we'll have a 3-week break, a 3-day weekend there, and then we come back on Monday and we'll start the mock presentations. Now, on May 22nd in the afternoon, right after 2 o'clock, that's why I need everything by 2 o'clock, where the tutors are going to meet and we're going to decide on the final presentations.
The schedule.
The schedule. Now, in your case, when are you presenting your?
On the second week on Tuesday, June 3rd.
Okay. More than likely, okay, you are going to present.
Okay, let me. Mock.
So you're presenting on the 3rd, right? So, more than likely, you're going to present on the 17th of June.
17.
Yeah.
The final presentation.
Because we're going to respect the same order, and we're anticipating possibly some of you may not presenting the finals. So, but since you are the last one, you're probably going to be on that day. Now the hour, I won't know until well, yeah, it will change. It won't be that time. It'll be sometime in the morning from 9 to, or early afternoon from 9 to 1.
Sorry, which one was the final presentation? June 17th?
17th. Okay. So you're probably, if that is your date, which I'm almost certain it's going to be, your final paper, that is 3 copies of your original document, your thesis, and the disk with the electronic file, Word document, you'll need to turn in to me by June 10th. That is 1 week before you present your final presentation, June 10th.
Okay. So, June 10th, I need 3 copies of the whole document and 1 digital, right? In Word document.
On a disk.
The 3 printed should be like bound.
This is bound, very nice, professional, however, at least I would not use the plastic in this case. At least a spiral bound. Some actually do like a kind of a book, that's fine too. It just needs to look professional and nice. So now, so let's look at this. So you're going to present your presentation on June 3rd, and you're going to get feedback from us, your tutors, for your presentation as well as your written document. We're just going to pass your written document around and make notes.
The mock presentation.
On the mock presentation.
Okay.
So as you're giving your presentation, we're passing around. I won't because I will have seen it, but the other two will be making notes. They'll be looking at it, making notes.
Okay.
And so from June 3rd until, in your case, June 10th, you'll have to make any last-minute changes and print out. Okay?
Yes.
So in your case, and everybody's going to be different depending on when they present. But in your case, June 3rd, you'll have between June 3rd and June 10th to print or make last-minute changes and print the final draft.
Yesterday I was checking the schedule, and these weeks are like very together, and there's like
A lot of stuff.
the final.
Yeah, this is, we're in our third week now for results and discussion, right? So we've got 2 more weeks, and then really this is basically the rest of your paper. The rest is the abstract, which is short. The introduction and the conclusion are
All
both
those
short.
shorts are based on everything.
Right. And those
All
are all
of the document.
right. Those are all short. Those are just basically paragraphs. So that should not take long. And you're going to have another week to finish that and any last minute changes, right? That I give you based on my feedback. So what else? So yeah, that's basically where we're at with.
I think okay.
All right.
There's a lot of things.
I'll give you this.
Thank you.
And go ahead and start writing up your results and discussion. If there's anything at any time you want me to look at in Google Drive, send me an email on Canvas. Or if you get stuck, come by and see me. We can talk about it. But try to make every day. Try to get something done for your thesis.
Yeah.
And so that you can preferably have everything done for an experience session. That way, I can give you feedback, and then you can just make those changes, and then you'll be done.
I also have a question. On the mock presentations, I can appear like observe as much presentations as I want. Or
Okay, yeah. There's a reflection. In fact, there's a reflection due this week. We're back on reflections, but during the mock presentations, there's a reflection that I'm giving that has a lot of weight. It's like 12 points. It's the big.
Yeah, I was checking, and it's
very
one
important.
of the big.
It's the biggest for sure. So it's very important that you do this reflection. In this reflection, you're going to include your own reflection based on the feedback that you received on your own presentation. And you need to observe at least 2 of your classmates' presentations. If you want to observe more, that's fine. But in your reflection, I'd like for you to discuss at least 2 of your classmates and your own. And I want you to discuss and reflect on the feedback that we give both on what you receive as well as your classmates. You can talk about what you liked about the presentation, things that you can critique it. Okay, you can critique, you can say how things might have been different. You can include our comments that you heard. We just want you to reflect on different things, because a lot of the things that we say they apply to almost everyone. And so now, who can you observe? Practically speaking, probably since you're there, you're going to have 3, in your case, 3 other classmates that you could observe that same day. But here's the thing, and that's fine. If you want to observe those 2, include those 2 in your 2 out of those 3 in your reflection, it's fine. But if I were you as a student, okay, I would choose. Well, I would choose students that you are interested in seeing how they present. I mean, not so much just because you happen to be scheduled with those three. Nothing against those three, but I'm saying choose students that you, because this is a learning experience.
Mhm.
So to get the most out of it, you choose those that you feel that you can get the most out of observing.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can observe anybody. Is what I'm saying. Okay? You can come in any day, and I know you all have other things to do, and I understand that. But just know that you can observe any of your classmates.
There was nothing more prepared or
However you want to. Yeah.
very outgoing.
Yeah. If you think there's some that you think are strong, because I would observe the strong ones.
Obviously.
Like if I were a student, if I were you, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have that option.
Yeah.
So, and you can observe as many as you want. That's fine. So, you decide who, and you don't have to tell me who you're going to observe. Okay, just include it in your reflection at the end.
And on those weeks, I'm checking the schedule, and well, on the first week, the presentation is at the same time as it was supposed to be my tutoring session.
There are no tutoring sessions
during the
during
presentation weeks. Okay.
No. Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, there are no. And in fact, our last tutoring session is going to be the 22nd, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Because your quote unquote your attendance, right, is going to be the
1 week before the mock presentation.
Yeah.
And after that, there's not gonna be more tutoring at all.
No, not technically, but obviously, if you want to come and discuss something, you can come in any time. But there's not, yeah, this is going to take to the last day of school, last day of class, regular classes.
Yeah.
After this, then we're in exams.
You're like in
Right.
periods.
These 2 weeks, there's nothing scheduled, but if obviously you want to schedule something with me, then that's fine.
Yes, teacher.
Okay. And if yeah, so that's fine. For example, that first week, if you want to discuss something, like if you want to show me your presentation, if you have questions about your presentation, we can schedule time to meet. That's fine. Before you present on the following week.
Yes.
Right, and I'll tell everybody who presents the first week if they want to see me the second week, if to look at their presentation. Really thinking more in terms of the presentation and what to include, but you're going to get a lot of information from us in the mock.
Yeah.
You get,
because even it can help me to check like the slides,
we're going to check all
the
of that.
time.
Think of exactly. We're going to be keeping time. I'm usually the timekeeper, and we keep time. We check everything. What does it look like? Can I read the text? Do you have too much text? Do you have too many bullet points? Do you have good contrast? The colors, can you actually read the text? Is it too big, too small? Do you have too many fonts? Let's see, so on and so on. So, yeah, don't worry too much about that right now.
Well, first of all,
it kind of gives you an idea, of dates, right? So you can, the final presentation, you can invite whomever you want. It's big. In fact, it's by invitation only. So. If you want any of your classmates to attend, you need to invite them, family, friends.
But if I don't want,
if you don't want to invite anybody, you can do it all by yourself. Some students choose not to invite anybody, and that's fine. But if you do invite somebody, punctuality, I can't stress enough. Arrive, it's formal, so you can look nice, dress up. You want to arrive early. I would say 30 minutes early. Just get there early and wait. And if you invited family, friends, and please to be there early because they won't be able to come in once you start. We shut the door, and that's it.
Also, that day, I will bring my document my presentation on like a flash drive or my laptop or because technical problems are like always.
Yeah, your flash definitely. You need to bring that. I need to check if we're going to have a computer there or not. I'm not sure about that. I don't know if we talked about that or not. I'll get back to you on that. But yeah, for sure flash and keep copies. You know, when you finish, that's why to keep everything in Google Drive until the very end.
Mm-hmm.
So the very, 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 very end.
Because it's always like
You won't lose it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At the very end, in fact, you know, I would not make any changes to a Word document. I just wouldn't do it unless it's at the very, very end and you're making a lot of copies, right? Yeah, I just don't want you to lose data because sometimes, and happened before. You know, a student comes in on the mock presentation, her file on a USB, put it in, it crashed.
It
That was her only copy, and this was what 2 weeks before the final, and she didn't have a backup, lost everything. So you're not going to lose everything, obviously, because you have at least something here. But I would don't make so many changes after you downloaded the document, so that you are sure that you always have it. Even if your hard drive, your USB crashes that day, you can still get it quickly, and we can adapt. We can do something. So that's another reason why I like using Google Drive. So you guys don't have any problem.
Even my computer doesn't have like Word, like the package of Windows, because Google Drive is.
Yeah, I mean it's good.
Nice,
You know, it's we can get everything we need done here. So, what else?
That's all.
I think that's it for now. So yeah, if I don't see you, come by. If you have questions, if not, I'll see you next tutoring session.
Next Wednesday.
And we'll keep a look at what you have.
Okay.
Thank you. You're welcome. See you later. All right, bye.